Imagine a world where your deepest fears and most profound joys aren't just private emotions, but commodities. A world where the understanding, the shared experience of your inner turmoil, empathy itself, could be traded, bought, and sold like stocks on Wall Street. What if the very act of truly connecting with another human, of feeling what they feel, became the most valuable currency on the planet? It sounds like science fiction, a dystopian nightmare. But what if I told you the whispers of such a system, both beautiful and terrifying, already exist, just beneath the surface of our awareness? To understand this unsettling concept, we need to go back, not just to theoretical economics, but to the very dawn of human interaction. Empathy, or at least a rudimentary form of it, has always been a bedrock of tribal survival. The ability to anticipate another's pain, to share their joy, fostered cooperation, ensured protection, and ultimately built civilizations. But even back then, its value was implicit, immeasurable. It was the glue, not the gold. Over centuries, societies evolved. We created complex economies based on tangible goods, salt, silver, pelts, then abstract concepts like land titles, stocks, and intellectual property. Yet through all these shifts, empathy remained relegated to the realm of the intangible, a moral compass, a virtue, a psychological component, never a direct means of exchange. Why? Perhaps because its very nature resists quantification. How do you weigh a shared tear? How do you calculate the market price of truly understanding another's loss? But what if, in our relentless pursuit of efficiency and valuation, we've finally found ways to chip away at that resistance, to assign a hidden, perhaps even sinister value to the very fabric of human connection? What if, without ever admitting it, we've begun to treat empathy not just as currency, but as the ultimate currency? Consider the subtle ways empathy is already being monetized, albeit indirectly. In the attention economy, content creators often succeed by eliciting strong emotional responses, identification, sympathy, outrage. The more effectively they tap into our shared human experience, the more views, likes, and ultimately ad revenue they generate. It's a transaction. You offer a piece of your emotional self, your empathy, by engaging with their content, and they receive a measurable return. This isn't direct empathy trading, no, but it's a step. It's a system where emotional resonance is the engine of value. Think about charitable organizations. Their entire model relies on people's empathy for others. They present stories, images, and narratives designed to provoke a feeling of shared humanity, compelling donors to open their wallets. The more poignant the story, the more empathy it extracts, the more donations flow. Again, not currency in the traditional sense, but a clear pathway from emotional connection to financial transaction. Even in our personal lives, we often spend empathy. We dedicate time, energy, and emotional labor to friends or family in need. We invest in relationships, hoping for future reciprocation, or simply for the inherent reward of connection. Is this not a form of barter, an exchange where empathy is both the medium and the message? But what if this gradual, often unconscious, monetization were to become explicit? What if the ability to truly understand and connect with another person, to bridge the gap between their subjective experience and your own, was suddenly assigned a tangible, fluctuating value? Imagine a future where social credit systems, far from being just about compliance, also judge your empathy score. Your ability to contribute to collective emotional well-being translates into higher social standing, better access to resources. The person who can genuinely uplift others, who can quell conflict through understanding, becomes a valuable asset. The person who is emotionally isolated, who struggles to connect, finds themselves at a severe disadvantage. The market for shared grief or collective joy would become a powerful force. Investors would not just seek out companies with strong financials, but those with high empathy yield. Brands that successfully tap into the zeitgeist's emotional currents, understanding and mirroring the feelings of the masses. Personal trainers, therapists, even romantic partners might be evaluated not just on their skills or attractiveness, but on their empathy quotient, their ability to attune and resonate. A true empathetic connection might become a luxury item, something only the privileged can afford to give or receive. Now let's take a leap into the truly unsettling. What if empathy became a literal currency, exchangeable, bankable, a commodity traded on a global emotional exchange? Consider a society where advancements in Neuralink technology or hyper-realistic simulations allow for the direct transfer of emotional states. You could buy a few minutes of pure, unadulterated joy from a certified joy donor. Or, more disturbingly, you could sell your unique experience of overcoming profound loss, packaging it as a therapeutic emotional data stream for those struggling. Imagine a struggling artist needing funds to pursue their passion. Instead of selling paintings, they might sell the profound sense of artistic liberation they feel during creation, transmitting that raw, inspiring emotion to a wealthy patron who craves that feeling but can no longer access it themselves. Financial traders wouldn't just analyze stock charts, they'd monitor global emotional indexes, buying up hope when it's cheap and selling grief when it's abundant, creating artificial emotional bubbles and crashes. Therapy wouldn't be about talking through feelings, but about direct emotional calibration, where a therapist might literally loan you a sense of calm, paid back with your gratitude, a small emotional interest. The ultimate luxury wouldn't be a private jet, but a bespoke emotional experience, tailor-made to your desires, purchased from a global network of emotional purveyors. But this seemingly utopian or dystopian vision immediately raises terrifying questions. What happens when emotions become an asset? Do we start manufacturing artificial emotions for market stability? Do the wealthy hoard emotional experiences, leaving the poor emotionally impoverished? Does the very act of commodifying empathy strip it of its genuine meaning, rendering all emotional connections hollow, perform for sale rather than for truth? The constant pressure to perform empathy, to be emotionally rich for societal benefit, would be immense. And what of those born with lower natural levels of empathy? Would they be considered emotionally bankrupt? Would they be ostracized or forced to purchase emotional grafts to function within society? The consequences are chilling, a potential fracturing of humanity into the emotionally privileged and the emotionally destitute. Corporations wouldn't just market products, they'd market emotional states, selling not just a car, but the feeling of boundless freedom it supposedly provides, directly transferable into your consciousness for a fee. To this day, the very idea of empathy as a literal, tangible currency remains firmly in the realm of speculation. Yet the subtle, often unseen mechanisms that already value and leverage our emotional responses are growing. Our digital footprints, our social media interactions, our consumer choices all leave a trail of emotional data that is increasingly being analyzed, quantified, and yes, monetized. We may not be directly trading shared grief for financial gain yet, but the underlying principles are being laid. The danger isn't necessarily that empathy will become a pure currency, but that in our drive to quantify everything, to assign a measurable value to every human interaction, we risk losing the immeasurable intrinsic worth of true, unadulterated connection. We risk turning something sacred into something transactional. The questions linger. How much of our emotional selves are we willing to put up for sale, for scrutiny, for leverage? And what do we lose when the deepest, most human parts of ourselves become just another commodity, another line item on a global ledger? If we continue down this path, the next video will explore the chilling implications of an AI designed not just to mimic, but to truly feel our emotions, blurring the line between computation and consciousness, and perhaps offering us the ultimate, albeit manufactured, empathy on demand.